In light of my recent video about Joker's Revenge at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas, I started wondering about all the coasters that I was too young to ride before they were closed and were dismantled, or defunct. And after the more recent removal of Kingda Ka at Six Flags Great Adventure, one of the defining staples in the coaster community, as it was once the tallest roller coaster in the world, I started thinking about the coasters that I missed out on that I could have ridden but didn't, and for one case, wish I got an additional ride. Whether it be by age, location, or fear of the ride at the time, this is my list of 8 roller coasters that are now defunct. My name is Avery, and this is United Coaster. This list is going to be a mix of defunct coasters that are notorious and some that aren't talked about as much. Up first, let's get the previously tallest coaster out of the way with Kingda Ka at Six Flags Great Adventure. Opening in 2005 during the Coaster Wars, where parks and companies are competing to build record breakers, this Intamin strata coaster surpassed its predecessor Top Thrill Dragster in 3 feats of length, speed, and most importantly, height. Launching at 128 miles per hour, 8 miles faster than the Cedar Point coaster, and reaching a max height of 456 feet in the air, Kingda Ka was the king of roller coasters. What's baffling is that its record of height is still not broken, as Falcon's Flight at Six Flags Qiddiya with its max height of 639 feet has yet to open. Still can't believe that coaster is going to be a real thing. That aside, Kingda Ka started off with the hydraulic launch, sending you up its massive top hat and down into a 270-degree vertical spiral. After, you're sent back up into a 129-foot hill that goes immediately into the brakes. Despite its national notoriety, Six Flags closed Kingda Ka 19 years later in 2024 due to maintenance being more costly than its operation. What left a sour taste for coaster fans is that Six Flags closed Kingda Ka with virtually no warning to anyone, and later demolished the coaster via implosion about 2 weeks ago. I never got a chance to ride this, but if I ever did, I'm sure it would have been an experience of a lifetime. Some good news is that Six Flags has stated that they're planning on making a multi-record breaking launch roller coaster in its place, expecting to open in 2026. Now let's look at one of the greatest defunct roller coasters ever, Volcano the Blast Coaster at King's Dominion. First opened in 1998, this was Intamin's first and only suspended catapult coaster model, and with 4 inversions and a top speed of 70 miles per hour, it was the crowning jewel and centerpiece for King's Dominion. On top of that, this coaster held the record for the tallest inversion height with its one-of-a-kind rollout from the top of the volcano done at 155 feet up. On Volcano, you start by exiting the station to the left and immediately hitting a launch, putting you at a max speed of 70 miles per hour. After, you hang left, turning 180 degrees to the center of the volcano structure, where you undergo another boost that puts you vertical, launching out of the top of the volcano in the rollover element. After, you alternate left and right turns, undergoing 3 heartline rolls, until you hang right going down into the station. From 1998 to 2018, this one-of-a-kind Intamin inverted launch coaster was the GP magnet for fans of the park. Unfortunately, Volcano suffered with rider capacity and mechanical issues. The system that boosted the coaster were LIMs, or linear induction motors. These were used on Intamin's other coasters like Flight of Fear at the same park, or Poltergeist at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas. And just like those coasters, the motors were notorious for having problems, leading to frequent undershooting and rollback. The most damaging thing for this coaster was the actual structure of the volcano itself and how hard it was to repair the coaster inside the structure. Along with that, the ride capacity being only 16 riders a train led to long wait times. Pairing that up with frequent downtime, the coaster last operated in the beginning weeks of the 2018 season. The next year, the coaster along with the volcano were demolished, leaving an empty space in the park for 6 years until Kings Island's newest B&M wing coaster, Rapterra, replaced it. Personally, Volcano the Blast Coaster was always going to be out of reach for me, seeing that I live in Texas and wasn't an avid coaster fan like I am now. But the next one on this list hurts because I was at the park and I just didn't get a chance to ride it before it was gone. I'm talking about the Mock Rides Wild Mouse Sand Serpent at Busch Gardens, Tampa. First opened in 1995 at Busch Gardens Williamsburg in Virginia as Izzy, the standard run-of-the-mill Wild Mouse was moved to Busch Gardens Tampa in 2004 as Cheetah Chase, situated in the park's Pantopia area, later being renamed to Sand Serpent. The ride started immediately turning left out of the station, lifting you via chain to its max height of 46 feet. After, you went on a series of hairpin turns that lit to give out some great lateral forces and made you feel like you're about to fall off the track. Once you get to the end of that, the coaster had 2 big drops before it dipped into the final break. Sand Serpent looks like a quality first coaster for a lot of kids and fun for the whole family. And I could have got a chance to ride it when I was at the park, but it was closed for maintenance at that time. Funny thing is, since then, I've been to Knott's Berry Farm in California with the similar Wild Mouse Coast Rider and still didn't get a chance to ride that one as it broke down before I got on. Meaning I have yet to go on any Wild Mouse model. Going back to Sand Serpent, this ride was closed in 2023 to make way for Baby Montu. Phoenix Rising, a B&M family inverted coaster. We stay at the same park for my next defunct coaster on this list with Scorpion. This was, in my opinion, among one of the best beginner coasters. First opened in 1980, this Schwarzkopf Silver Aero coaster was the second built coaster at BGT, right after the Aero Corkscrew model Python, and with only 1 loop and great pacing. Scorpion was the perfect mix of intensity and brevity for a beginner in the coaster world. I've talked about the specifics of this ride multiple times, and you can hear my thoughts about it near the start of part 2 of my top 50 coasters I've ridden, as it ranked 24 on my list. You can find that video either on the card on the screen or below the like button in the description below. Speaking more on Scorpion, the closure of this ride occurred at the start of September in 2024, but after an outcry of fans about how abrupt the announcement was, BGT extended the last operating days by a week. Regardless, Scorpion is now standing but not operating, set to be demolished at a later date, and will leave a legacy at Busch Gardens Tampa as its tenure lasted 44 years, surpassing Python, their first coaster, by 18 years. And even though I got a chance to ride it on my visit, I wish I knew that that was going to be the last time. I would have definitely appreciated it more. Lucky for you, you can appreciate this channel more by subscribing if you haven't already, as I have more videos down the pipeline. For the next one, we go back to King's Dominion for Hypersonic XLC, the first of 2 thrust air coasters by SNS. Along with its other defunct sister coaster, Dodonpa at Fuji-Q Highland in Japan, Hypersonic XLC used the first of its kind compressed air launch system to accelerate riders from 0 to 80 miles per hour in just 1.8 seconds. In 2001, King's Dominion bought Hypersonic Extreme Launch Coaster, or XLC, from SNS as it was their prototype model. The coaster started with the launch at the top speed of 80 miles per hour from the station, the fastest launch ever on a roller coaster at the time of opening, and entered vertically into the 165-foot top hat. After, the coaster curved around left and meandered into a hill that rested on the brakes. With only a 16-second duration, one would think that the throughput would be insane. However, during its only 6-year tenure at the park, Hypersonic XLC was plagued by frequent downtime and had major capacity issues as one train would only hold 8 riders at a time. Given that this was a prototype, its relatively short stay in the park could be forgiven, as it really was mostly proof of concept. After its removal in 2007, its bottom land was used for flat rides, and now the 301-foot tall flat ride Windseeker takes up the majority of its original footprint. Although I never rode Hypersonic XLC, it still baffles me that a coaster with that much acceleration was created at the turn of the century, and it's gotta be one of the coolest credits people can boast about. Another defunct coaster marvel was Batman and Robin the Chiller at Six Flags Great Adventure. And out of all coasters on this list, these 200-foot tall dueling premier ride launch coasters are the ones that I can strongly say bit off way more than they could chew. Both coasters launched to their top speed of 65 miles per hour in 4 seconds, and had 2 layouts, one tame and one wild. The tamer Batman side launched you into an inside top hat, exiting you down and rising into a 0G roll before coasting you into an incline ending the track. You were then boosted backwards, doing the entire course in reverse. The Wild and Robin side launched out of the right side of the station and into a Cobra roll that aligned with the Batman side's top hat. That ended with you rising into a perpendicular 0G roll and incline, where you were then boosted back the way you came. Opening in 1997, these coasters had a cascade of downfalls after downfalls, as just weeks after opening, these coasters shut down due to the massive amount of power that the LIMs needed to launch. After opening nearly a full year later, it was decided that only one side could launch at a time, completely ruining the dueling aspect of these coasters, as many times the coasters would undershoot, leading the Robin side to valley on its Cobra roll and 0G roll. Even so, the Batman side was prone to the majority of the problems, and in 2006, after the removal of the 0G rolls, the Batman side was closed permanently and painted red to coincide with the only operational Robin side. And that was short-lived too, as in 2007, the entire ride was taken down. It was eventually shipped to Beto Carreiro World in Brazil, where it remained in storage before it was eventually scrapped in 2018. Despite its 9-year tenure at Six Flags Great Adventure, the imprint it left has not gone unnoticed, with the observatory feature being used to this day for events, and the ride's footprint itself is now being covered by the DC Battle for Metropolis Dark Ride. It's rare for a credit on this coaster, but even rarer if you were one of the lucky ones to ride it while dueling. So if you did, let me know in the comments. For the second to last, we go to Cedar Point for Wicked Twister. Located on Cedar Point's beach, this Intamin impulse coaster opened in 2002 and was one of the tallest and fastest of its kind until 2021, where it was dethroned by legendary Twin Dragon at Chongqing Sunak Land. Wicked Twister was unique, as it was the only impulse coaster in the States that sported 2 twists at the end of each track piece. The coaster worked as you and 31 other riders were boosted using LIMs along the station area, rocking higher and higher up the 216-foot spikes at a maximum speed of 72 miles per hour. In terms of layout, the coaster wasn't that extreme, but with it being at Cedar Point, a park with an abundance of extreme coasters, it was a good change of pace. Wicked Twister's lifespan of the park lasted for 19 years, as it was removed with plenty of notice for hardcore fans to get their last rides on before it was eventually demolished in 2021. As far as I can tell, the only reason this coaster was removed was due to its prime location, as the park was heading into a new direction, turning the entire plot into Cedar Point's Grand Pavilion restaurant and bar. Although it was a smart move for the future of the park, I still wonder how many people missed this shuttle coaster and all the fun it brought them. Lastly, let's talk about a defunct coaster that hits close to home with me, with the original Rattler. Located at my home park of Six Flags Fiesta, Texas, this wooden roller coaster was created by the defunct company Roller Coaster Corporation of America, or RCCA, and was the first extreme roller coaster in the park. This wooden monstrosity started by heading down and left into the chain lift hill. After ascending 179 feet, you fell banking to the right and snapping sharp to the left down a 166-foot drop. You then rose to the left, dropping into a series of hills, turning right into a helix on top of the quarry wall. After that long helix, you were positioned awkwardly into a dive that dropped left into a tunnel, sending you out to the right into another helix, but this time to the left. Upon exiting that one, you hit the brakes. At its debut in 1992, this was the world's fastest and tallest wooden roller coaster. And because this was during the Coaster Wars, many redesigns happened before the coaster was even completed to get those feats. Although that was short-lived, as the original design had to undergo many changes to improve both safety and comfort. Most notably, the pullout from the first drop was recorded at a dangerous 5 Gs, and this needed to be adjusted. Modifications included raising the bottom of the first drop from 166 feet to 124 feet just 2 years after the first ride on Rattler. In addition, the ruggedness of Rattler was too much, as the structure would sway tremendously on the ride. The ultimate nail in the coffin for Rattler was when the park was hit with a litany of lawsuits from neck and head injuries caused by the roughness of the ride. This led to the closure of the original Rattler in 2012, giving it a 20-year lifespan in the park before it got the RMC conversion treatment with iBox track, making it arguably one of the best coasters in the park. Towards the end of its original run, I had many opportunities to ride the original Rattler. Little did I know that 2012 would have been the last time that I could have ever done it. And even though it was rough, I never got a chance to experience the, albeit heavily modified, original coaster. As long as we have parks, especially after the Six Flags merger, classic coasters are going to close and become defunct in the near future. Some may even happen sooner than you think. With that in mind, you should ride the favorite ones of the park, especially if they're creeping up in age. If you've experienced any of these coasters on this list, or ridden some defunct ones that I didn't talk about, let me know in the comments. And if you learned something new, feel free to give a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Lastly, I just want to say thank you for watching, and remember to stay unique.